we have one more video that kind of concludes our multiplication section of this lesson, and that's going to be looking at some geometry application problems. So if we look at example 5, we are given a rectangle, and we want to determine an expression that would represent the area of the figure shown below. So this is a little bit different than the geometry problems we did in the last lesson where we were looking at perimeter. Instead of finding the distance around the shape like we did in those, we're going to find the area, which we find by doing area equals base times height. So when I look at this, I'm just going to fill into that formula. So I'm looking for the area. My base is going to be the 6x minus 5. And I'm going to put that in parentheses so I know that those are grouped together. And then I need to multiply it times the height, which is the 3x plus 7. And now this turns into just a multiplication problem like we were doing in the binomial times a binomial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute that 6x to both pieces of the second. So I'm going to do 6x times 3x, and that's going to give me 18x squared. I'm going to do 6x times a positive 7, and that's going to give me plus 42x. And then I'm going to distribute that negative 5 to both of the pieces in the second piece. So negative 5 times 3x gives me a negative 15x, and a negative 5 times a 7 gives me a negative 35. Of course, now that I've multiplied those out, I do need to look for like terms. I only have like terms here of 42x and negative 15x. So I'm going to go ahead and combine those. My 18x squared will stay 18x squared since there's nothing to combine that with. And then I'm going to do 42x minus 15x, which is going to give me a 27x. And it will be positive since our bigger number was the positive number there. And then I'm going to have minus 35. And that's all we have to do for that problem. Now let's look at one that's just a little bit more complex, looking at example number 6. This time we are asked to give an equation, or an expression rather, that represents the area of the shaded region. So instead of looking at the whole rectangle, we only want that part that is shaded in the gray color. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to have to figure out the area of the whole rectangle, and then we're going to want to subtract the area that's not shaded. And that will give us the amount that is in that shaded box. So we're going to start out by finding the area of the whole. So to do that, we need our area equals base times height formula again. But we'll notice they don't give us that whole section here in one piece. They've instead broken it up into pieces. We have one piece here that's x long. We have one piece here that's 12 long. And we have one piece here that's also x long. So to figure out how long that is total, we're going to have to add those pieces together. So what I'm going to do to find the base is I'm going to do x plus 12 plus x. And that just represents the little pieces that I had from above. There's my first section. There's my second section that was the 12. And there's that third section that was the x. So I'm going to combine like terms and put them together. And that's going to give me a 2x plus 12. So I'm going to write that down here. And actually, let's write it down over here so we have it with our formula that we were doing earlier. So we're doing the area of the whole first. And then we want to multiply by the height. So the height is going to work the same way. Again, we have the 3 different pieces. We have a piece that's x, 7, and x. So I'm going to put those together. I'm going to combine my like terms. And that's going to give me 2x plus 7. And then, of course, I want to subtract the area of the not shaded region. So the area of the not shaded region is going to be the hole that's in the middle. And we'll notice it's also a rectangle, so we're going to use the same formula, area equals base times height. And this time we don't have to worry about the variables. We just have one length that's 12, and we're going to have one length that's 7. So now we do follow the order of operations. We do want to do our multiplication first, and then after we do our multiplication is when we will do our subtraction. So we're going to go ahead and multiply out the binomial times the binomial. We're going to do 2x times 2x, and that's going to give us 4x squared. We're going to do 2x times 7, which is going to give us 14x. Then I want to distribute that 12 through each of the pieces. 12 times 2x is going to give me 24x. And 12 times 7 is going to give me 84. So that's what I get from multiplying those all out together. And then also at the end, I'm going to still have that minus the 12 times 7, which is going to give me a negative 84 there. So the last thing I need to do is go ahead and combine any like terms. So I have a positive 14x here and a positive 24x here that are going to go together. And I have a positive 84 and a negative 84 that are going to go together. So when I combine my like terms, that's going to give me a 4x squared plus a 38x. And then a positive 84 and a negative 84 are going to cancel each other out. So technically that would give me 0. But we know that adding 0 to anything is not going to change it. So while you could put the plus 0 there, you could. You don't really need to. You can just leave your answer as 4x squared plus 38x. Alright, that wraps up the multiplication portion of this lesson. We do have one more video to go through, so after you do the U-try, check your answers, go ahead on to that last video, and we'll see you there.